Okay. How the fuck is it only 9:30 p.m.? That's crazy shit. That is insanity. It's only like 9:20 and it feels way later. Way later. Of course, the sun is still setting at like 5 here, so yeah, I guess it's not that weird. It feels super late. Anyway, hey, hi, hello. Welcome back. Alexandrian Codex. It's a day. Oh, how we doing? How we doing? Been deep cleaning my apartment. Wow, deep cleaning. I've been cleaning my apartment these last couple of days, and that has been. Oh, this is a good sign. It's been a satisfying experience, although, you know, time-consuming, obviously. There we go. It's kind of a spring cleaning thing, but also like a I think I may have company soon kind of cleaning. Like, okay. I got a rice cooker. Yeah, get ready for some exciting fucking content today. I got a rice cooker, and dude, hell yeah, those are fucking amazing. I mean, I've had one before while I lived with and dated someone who had one, and at that time, my position on rice cookers was like, you know, they're convenient, but I don't really need it. Like, I can just make rice on the stove, and like, I can. But I see now that was a foolish attitude to take. A very foolish attitude to take because, like, holy shit, is it nice just throwing everything I want for rice into what's basically a pressure cooker and just be like, okay, it's your problem now, and just ignore it. Like, holy fuck, that's amazing. Just amazing. Big fan. Would highly recommend. What goes here? Cobble goes in the middle. Yeah. Oh. I've just been like super pleased with it because I pay attention, but I burned rice like a few times too many. Like, I'll start rice and then, like, walk away and forget that it's going, or my stove is, like, wildly inconsistent with how it heats and how much it heats and what area it heats. Like, it's a shitty old gas stove, and cooking with it just sucks. Cooking with it sucks. I can never cook anything right on it, and it's incredibly depressing when, like, I wouldn't say I'm, like, an amazing cook, but I'm competent. I am a competent cook, which means I can follow instructions, right? And I can make some interesting, like, original works. Let's describe them that way. But yeah, dude. It's so nice just being able to be like, you know, I don't really want to worry about this. Now the only thing I have to figure out is how the fuck to cook my beans in a similar way, because rice is pretty easy. You know, you soak it for a little while, you rinse it to get rid of the excess, like, glutinous material, and like, just like any other food stuff, you should probably rinse it before cooking just to get rid of any stuff, any insects, any mold. I mean, it really depends on what you're cooking, what you're trying to get rid of, but generally rinsing is like thing number one, right? And I'll admit I'm fucking terrible with rinsing. It's a step I have a strong tendency and desire to skip. I know I shouldn't, but you know, just telling the truth there. Beans, on the other hand, oh my god, you gotta soak those sons of bitches for like 8 plus hours, and then you have to slow cook them. And then, if you do everything right, they're done, you can eat them. It's just such a commitment. It's such a time commitment. And I'm curious if I can do this with the rice maker. I need to look at it. Or if I need to get like a fucking slow cooker or something, just so I can just like throw two cups of dried beans, 3 cups of water, or whatever, into something and just like walk the fuck away and have it done. Because like, oh my god, that would save so much time and energy. Because when I'm making beans, I can't have my headphones on. Like, I need to be cognizant that I have a fire on a gas stove going in my apartment. I need to remember to keep an eye on it. Yeah. And if you don't cook rice properly, if you don't cook it thoroughly enough, it's very easy just to cook it more. Like, yeah, that's too hard. Let's try that again. But also it's like pretty hard to fuck up. Beans, on the other hand, you can kind of tell in like the texture a little bit if they're underdone. I mean, if they're really underdone, you can notice, but most of the time it's a pretty subtle difference. And that subtle difference sucks. It absolutely fucking sucks. Because that's the difference between, like, healthy food and stomach cramps. Because beans, if not prepared properly, will give you a big tummy ache. Big tummy ache. Because they're a dehydrated food, and if they don't rehydrate fully, once they get into anything that can hydrate them, they start sucking that up. And yeah, I mean, there's more to it than that, but yeah, it's just a pain in the ass, and I want to not have to do it. Minecraft, you feeling okay, buddy? You're really acting a little jank today. All this is on my mind because, like I said, I got a rice cooker earlier in the week. Finally. I've been wanting to get one for like 2 years and just putting it off until finally I decided to get one, because anything that reduces the amount of work I have to put into making food or cleaning or taking care of myself is one less excuse to not do something that I know I should do when I'm depressed or sick or, well, you know, whatever. Any obstacle I can remove, any way I can smooth things out for myself is highly desirable. It's not just laziness, it's partially laziness. But it's more just like being proactive in addressing my mental well-being and practicing patterns and modes of behavior which benefit me. So I've been quite pleased at that. Yeah, it's remarkable the difference that a small amount of discretionary income makes. Like, holy fuck, just having any kind of income and not worrying on a literal weekly basis about how much money I have to not spend or spend on groceries to make it to the end of the month is huge. I'm not making much right now. I'm on unemployment. I'm not getting rich right now, but like, compared to not making anything at all, you know, crazy thing. This is doing numbers for me. I have been thinking about getting back to work, though, not because like of money, but and this is the way it should work. Getting back into work because I want to work on something that I care about, and it's Like, that's such a better positive space. Oh, better positive, that's a little bit done. It's such a positive space, such a better space to be coming at the idea of employment or work. Like, oh, here's something I actually want to do and I'm actually excited about, versus being coerced into selling my labor in order to survive. Yeah. Wow, Minecraft, you are just... This kind of lag you normally see if you're playing online, but this is local, so this is a little gross, buddy. I don't have anything else running. So these should not be an issue. Huh. Cute little cave you got here. Don't got any of them diamonds? No. Diamonds. Yeah, it's just refreshing to feel vaguely emotionally stable and like secure financially. Not indefinitely, mind you. Definitely not indefinitely, but for the time being. Why is that lower? Or is this on the same level? It don't matter. It don't matter. If it weren't for the pandemic, there's so much I'd be doing right now. I'm like actually in a good headspace to like be productive and be social and do things and work on things and go out and meet with people and work with people. Like I'm in a great space energy wise right now, but it's a shame it's gonna mostly go to waste, because in good conscience I can't engage with the outside world until minimally I'm what's the word? Vaccinated. Big brain Alex, very smart. I'm gonna turn that up a little bit. The vibes tonight are very quiet. That's okay. You know, no two vibes are exactly the same, but I wouldn't even describe this as, well, it is a chill channel. Is this chill? Yeah. Is it a vibe? No. Yeah, so, like, personally, things are going pretty okay, but it's hard to feel good when things on a national scale, on a global scale, are doing how they are. Right, like, the utter incompetence of the United States federal government to pass any kind of meaningful legislation, useful legislation at all. Just seeing demonstrated time and time again how worthless Democrats and liberals are. And the entrenched political apparatus is. You know, can't feel good about that. Police violence continuing around the nation, unabated, undeterred. I mean, today, not, you know, a mile away from where I live, there was a homeless encampment that was forced to move because they were in a park that a local parks organization wanted to clear out for some fucking reason. And of course, they didn't go about this by being like, hey, can you move? Or like, hey, we have a new spot for you. Or like, hey, I have a fucking home for you. Imagine that. Instead, it was just send the police, and the police are like, okay, you gotta leave by 9 in the morning. Not, hey, here's some services, just leave. A city councilman, I think my city councilman, emailed the Parks Department yesterday with questions like, oh, are they going to be provided with like places to go and resources? And he got the response, yeah, of course they will. Did they? No, of course they didn't. It's so weird, these circles that people live in. Like the city councilors, when they ask if these unhoused folks, these homeless folks, are being given resources and opportunities, they're told by the people who work for them and the city, or take the city's money, oh yeah, definitely, no, we definitely do that. In reality, they just don't do it. It's just like, they are so distant and uninvolved with the actual processes that they've been elected to oversee, and they don't directly involve themselves, for the most part. Some do, but for the most part, like, it was noteworthy that he emailed, even, right? Y'all got any diamonds in there? No. Nothing going on in here. Yeah, you know, there's a lot to feel down about. Not great about, like, I want to find a way to be doing work that is fulfilling and satisfying and does good for the world. And so many of the ways that I've found to do that are all volunteer positions, which, you know, I'm not above, obviously, but in the long run are not sustainable for me, because in the long run what I'm looking at is needing a source of income, a stable source of income to support myself. Because, haha, you have to engage with capitalism to survive in capitalism. Yeah. This has been a crazy fucking year. It's been a year in quarantine. Not quite. 11 months in quarantine. Right now. At the end of March, it'll be 12. Then it'll also be 12 months of being unemployed. And, yeah. That's just insane. Just fucking insane. I had so much I wanted to get done in 2020. So much that I had to table. You know, I'm fortunate that I've only lost one close family member. And it's looking like it's only going to be one. My grandparents, surviving grandparents, are all immunized and or have already had COVID. My parents are in a state where they now qualify. So it's looking pretty okay. Looking pretty it's looking like, for me personally, I won't have to deal with any more death. Does it mean that I'm going to be vaccinated anytime soon? Fuck no. No, you know, Joseph Biden seems to be of the opinion that, oh yeah, totally. By the end of March, I think, was, the estimate for when most Americans can get vaccinated. I'm like, that ain't fucking happening. That's some pie in the sky bullshit, Joe. You know, I'm not particularly at risk insofar as I'm aware from, like, other health conditions. I'm relatively young, relatively healthy. I'm gonna be turning 29 in just over a month. So, like, I shouldn't qualify, but also, like, it sucks. It sucks. God, imagine living in any other country and actually getting money to survive every month. We're not getting that retroactively paid. We're not getting anything. I fucking cannot stand the neoliberal bourgeois capitalist class that rule this country. Absolutely cannot. They're so out of touch. And they have left hundreds of thousands of Americans to die. And that's not even taking into consideration the housing crisis, which is only incrementally being put off, and incrementally being put off, and incrementally being put off. Ugh, God, yeah, the Biden administration's absolute garbage. Is it surprising? No. I've been saying since, God, this time last year. It's a trip looking at social media posts from this time last year and being like, Bernie! Bernie! Still on that Bernie hope train. And you know what? Bernie should have been the nominee. Bernie would have won the fucking landslide. His policies are what's actually needed. But instead, the Dems cheated in Joe Biden, committing like actual voter fraud, and, you know, pressuring people to drop out in order to back Biden. And, yeah, you know, I don't need to revisit the past. It's bad. And, like, Bernie isn't even, like... He's fine. He's good. As far as American politicians go, he's amazing. But, like, he's still, like, a social democrat. And, like, he wants to make life livable for the majority of Americans. I'm amazed this pick hasn't broken yet. Living under capitalism, but like, he doesn't say that he wants to, like, oh, I don't know, overthrow capitalism and replace it with communism or anything. So like, he's not. My dude ain't radical. My dude's pretty not radical. He doesn't need to be. But it's just a really silly notion how often conservatives, and by conservatives I really mean reactionaries, will try to characterize him as being radical. Because like he's not really. He's pretty like, he's leftist. He is of the left. He's not a rad soc. He's not a radical in the sense of like advocating a violent overthrow of the capitalist system or imperialist state. Like he's just like an incrementalist dem soc that wants to, in hopes that we can reform and vote and organize our way to a more livable world. And he's really living some of the best virtues that you can according to a myriad of belief systems. He's just trying to make a shitty situation less shitty for people. Is he trying to do it in a way that'll create a perfect system? No. Is there such a thing as a perfect system? No. Is he a perfect human being? No. He doesn't have to be. He's just an honest man trying to do good and help people. There's a lot to love about that. A lot to respect about that. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is president now. Joe, fundamentally nothing will change. Biden, who has been the representative of states that are renowned as tax havens. What were people expecting? What was anyone expecting to come of this? He's a fucking snake. No, he's not dishonest, is the thing. Like, the political apparatus around Joe Biden was promising, you know, everything underneath the fucking blue sky. Oh, Joe will do this, and Joe will do that, and oh, here's Joe's platform. No, he really cares about this stuff. But like anyone who knew Joe Biden, or paid like the least bit of attention to Joe Biden's policies, could see pretty obviously. My dude has been talking about trying to get rid of welfare programs in the United States for as long as he's been in like a position to do anything. He's a center-right candidate. And he doesn't lie about it, to his credit. Fortune 3 unbreaking, Fortune 3 unbreaking. Okay, yeah, sure. He's not a liar. But also, like, why the fuck? People who are, like, shocked that he's not doing more or better, like, he never promised that he would. Like, your expectation that he would adopt all these policies that he's never been in favor of, that's on you, dude. That is on you. There's this type of Democrat. There's this type of liberal. They're like, Hillary Clinton stands, K Hive, Elizabeth Warren stands, that buy what they're being sold, hook, line, and sinker every fucking time. Like, oh, this person's giving the slightest amount of lip service to an issue. They're amazing. People who love Elizabeth Warren, particularly, are guilty of this. It doesn't matter what a candidate says that they care about or says that they will do. It matters what a candidate does. It matters what a candidate has made a career out of doing. It matters how a candidate has amassed power and amassed influence. With the vast majority of these individuals, they've done it by operating within the political mechanisms, maintaining status quo, not challenging or reforming the system, not organizing, not using direct action, not using any kind of appeal to populism or popular appeal. It's all been by following the rules and staying in the lines. That's who they are. That's who they are. Now, if that's good or bad or desirable or undesirable is a matter of personal taste and, you know, personal philosophy. Obviously, personally, I find it distasteful. I find it ineffective. I find it appalling, even, to characterize these people as being progressive. Because, like, Elizabeth Warren, a woman who has posed as being a woman of color the vast majority of her political career and academic career, being thought of as any way progressive is just mind-melting. Just mind-melting. Man, Jesus, like, people who are legitimately thinking about Kamala Harris running for president. Are you fucking kidding me? She's horrible. She's absolutely horrible. You think Biden did bad? Wait till you see her. She's gonna do so much work. If the Democrats' first 100 days are indicative of how they're gonna do in the future, the Democrats are not going to maintain the presidency in 2024. Oh my god, no way in hell. No way in hell. Who the fuck is gonna elect Joe Biden for a second presidential term? I'm amazed he got one. I really am. I genuinely thought that Biden was a throwaway in the same way that... Well, no, Clinton wasn't a throwaway. Clinton was just hubris. But I genuinely thought Biden's a throwaway. Like, they want to lose if they're running Biden. And I mean, the way they ran his campaign really spoke to that as well. Can we put these on? Gold hat time, baby! So, you know, everything's fine for now. Everything's okay for me personally, but nothing's actually, like, fine. I have a lot of issues personally, but, like, I'm not dying, so that's pretty cool. Big fan of not dying. Would love the political crap apparatus in which I exist to not be so inhumane. I should have picked up mushrooms. Look at all these angry boys. Yeah, I need some mushrooms. Shit. Yeah, it's hard to be hopeful. I'm a little doomery right now. Like, I'm having a really hard time putting a positive spin on things. When I start thinking, like, okay, what personally can I do to, like, help people? I'm stalling out a little bit. Like, I have like I talked about earlier, a small disposable... Is it disposable? I have a small income. I have a modest income right now. What I should probably be doing is spending none of it, saving it all, just so I can survive. What I'm actually doing with it is donating a decent chunk of it, spending on things that I've been putting off taking care of, or purchasing, or whatever, for an extreme amount of time. I thought so. Why did I make a diamond sword? Why did I make a piece of shit iron sword? What's wrong with me? Yeah. I totally lost my train of thought. I'll level with you. I've had a migraine since I woke up today. Wow, Alex, you've been talking about having headaches a lot lately. Yeah, it's a little concerning, isn't it? Yeah, just don't think about it and hope it gets better. America! Oh, you should see a doctor about that. Okay, Mr. Moneybags. Yeah, I've been donating this month a few hundred. But that's not really the same as being actively involved with something. But I don't feel... I'll level with you. I'm not comfortable going out and participating in direct action right now. Not because I feel particularly at risk, just... it doesn't feel effective to me. It doesn't feel effective. It doesn't feel well organized. In fact, it feels wildly ineffective, wildly poorly organized, and just, like, futile. It doesn't, to me, feel like a genuine movement to build power. And yeah, that's really difficult to look at and talk about and be like, hey, I don't know, man. You know, doing something is better than doing nothing. Right? Is it? Blue shroom. Y'all got any of that blue shroom? No, because I've been here. I don't actually know. I want to participate in organized organizations, not people communicating via signal threads that get deleted every fucking time somebody gets arrested. I don't want to be in an organization or be involved in an organization that's just like spur of the moment, demanding people drop what they're doing and come participate in this one action or resistance or whatever. Like, I want planning. I want planning and organization. I want logistics. I want, like, not hierarchy necessarily, though I think hierarchy or distribution of roles is important. Like, so much of what I want is not what I'm seeing. And well, Alex, if you want it, why don't you build it? That's a great point. That's a great point. I feel like an outsider here. Broadly, because I am. I don't even know really where to begin in building the kind of organizational structure I want to see. I think it takes resources I don't necessarily have, foremost of which are social connections, like, you know, membership. And yeah, that's really, I don't know, I'm definitely of two minds about it. Like, I'd like to be more directly participating, but also I have such little faith in the tactics, strategy, and methodology of what I've been seeing. Like, the whole, even the chant, for example, out of your homes and into the streets. I get it, right? But, that's not a good way to invite someone to take up arms with you, or stand by you, or march with you. That, it's vaguely antagonistic. It's calling someone out, it's putting them on the spot, and it's demanding an action of them, when the opposition is demanding nothing of them. It's demanding, do nothing, and you're helping us out. Right? I don't know, it's just really bad communication, really. Not, like, I don't want to talk about optics, really. I don't want to say it's bad optics, because, I mean, just about everything can be characterized that way. It's just so fucking disorganized, I guess is the point I keep coming back to and getting fuck off frustrated with, is just, it feels so much like kind of disorganized chaos, which can be effective if certain philosophies or methodologies or whatever are being used, but they're not being used. This isn't some, like, guerrilla movement that's striking at the logistical capabilities or whatever of an occupying force. In that terms, having a decentralized organization can be wildly effective. What this is a decentralized group of people who are wildly unorganized coming together to centralize, and, like, it doesn't make any fucking tactical sense to give up your few advantages by trying to meet an opponent on their terms. Because unless you actually have a supermajority when it comes to numbers, unless you actually have thousands of people marching with you, you should not be acting as if you are magically going to get thousands of people marching with you. You should adopt tactics that are for a dozen or 2 dozen or 3 people. You should plan and act for what you have, not what you want. And if what you want is to have numbers, well, recruiting, educating, agitating are things that obviously you should look into. And an effective way to do that is not being shitty to people or guilting them into action, but actually motivating them into action through, like, public outreach and education and like genuine one-on-one conversations. And like, yes, I know for people who are already radicalized, it feels like that takes too long, or it's so slow, or people don't already understand and they're never gonna understand, or like I shouldn't have to explain it to you. Well, tough fucking shit. You kind of have to. We can't expect other people to just spontaneously know what we know and feel spontaneously the way that we feel. That's wildly unrealistic. People don't believe in capitalism or abide by capitalism because it inherently makes sense. They do it because of years and years and years of indoctrination, years and years and years and years of education, and being adjusted to that worldview, adjusted to that value system, adjusted to that set of expectations, that set of norms. And if you want to change that, you have to slowly, painfully, incrementally, intentionally deconstruct those notions. Now, it's a very powerful argument for why leftists should be educators. Well, Alex, why don't you be an educator? No degree, no money. Though I'm tempted, and I'm actually intending to look into going back to school for either education or counseling, or both. Can you fuck off? You are the worst part of the Nether now. Not the ghasts, not the zombie pigmen, not even the lava, just you. No, maybe the lava's worse, but God, they're annoying. Haha, they're angry pigs. Can they just not be, though? Can they just fuck off? Get out, I'm trying to vibe. I don't know. You know, opinions are like assholes, right? Everybody has one. But I don't know. I feel like, I'm a DS8 member, right? I'm not directly involved in any leadership or facilitatory. Facilitatory? Is that even a word? I'm minimally involved with my local DSA chapter. Why? Because I can't fucking go anywhere. Because l'epidemie. Pandemie? Is it pandemie or pandemie? One's soft bread, one's pandemic. I'll say. Where the fuck am I? I think this way, vaguely, is the way I need to go. Fuck off. Fuck off. This looks right. Yeah. There's enough barren fucking trees in this direction. This is right. I don't know. Is that a reason or is it an excuse? I don't know. You know, it's really difficult feeling like I don't fucking know anybody involved with these organizations, and just stepping in from out of nowhere is very difficult. Right? Even when talking about like protesting, a lot of protesters don't appreciate how insular they have made their communities, how not closed off to newcomers they are, not necessarily, but how they're not open to, they're not focused on growth, right? And that's a pretty big fucking issue when you are using tactics that are depend on a mass of people. If you are not actively trying to grow your organization, your group, your tactic, your block. Then those aren't the kind of tactics and strategies you should be employing. What should you be employing? I don't want to talk about that right now. I'd be open to talking about that, like, individually. But I really, you know, I've briefly talked about in the past, like, I read on the channel excerpts, God, that's a difficult word for me to pronounce, from Che Guevara's guerrilla warfare to try and demonstrate the kind of variety and tactics that were necessary in Che's mind. And I think, you know, that's a good place to start if you're trying to think about examples of guerrilla movements. But also, there's this thing. Hey, buddy. There are so many people, liberals. There's so many liberals that just want to march and hold signs, and for that to be enough. For that to magically make things better. There are people who, like, want to voice their dissent and want that to be enough. And it's not enough. It's not enough. It's a start. You can enable and support people who are doing more. But then that in and of itself is not enough. The fucking Women's March when Trump got into office is a prime example of this. One of the largest, prior to the George Floyd protests, was the largest, I think, protest in American history. What did it accomplish? Nothing. Bunch of pink hat jokes. And no organizations being built, no solidarity being made, no plans to move forward, no plans for next actions. It was one day of action, and that's it. And at the time, I got a fight with my partner at the time. An argument, let's not say a fight, it wasn't a fight. An argument about the protest. She participated, and I didn't. And, yeah, she means well, but doesn't have kind of a critical political critique. And I think she and the people she went with, and a lot of people that participated that day, wanted to do something. And felt like that was a thing they could do. But without any plan of action to do more. And I don't just mean do more in terms of, like, direct action. I mean in terms of, well, I guess I do mean direct action. But particularly when I'm talking about direct action in this context, I mean organizing. I mean distributing food and resources. I mean building up political organizations, labor organizations, partnerships, and, you know, actual organizing in order to resist political efforts that would be made, not just meme about Trump being bad, not just post about Trump being bad, not just talking about how, you know, yada yada yada, but actually dedicating yourself to a prolonged campaign of action. You know, whether that campaign be political, material, whatever, just real. Because you don't accomplish a fucking thing marching. You absolutely don't. You might make a headline if if the news is determined that they want to publicize your movement. If you want to, I don't know, try and show off how fake progressive you are and take pictures of yourself holding a sign, I guess it's useful. But, like, it isn't really... Action is not useful unless it does something. Unless it has a material benefit or effect. Okay? Protesting the removal of unhoused people, of homeless people from where they are camping. That has direct, immediate material benefit to the people you are protecting. Even if it's only for a day, even only a few hours, even if it's only a stalling action or a holding action, that has value. That is very, very real, tangible material value. Getting a bunch of people together to protest against a sexual predator as president, and then not fucking following up, just it's demonstrative of how superficial a lot of all liberal protest is in this country. All liberal discontentment is in this country. It's not real. It's not real. Nobody's ever really held to account. Nothing is ever really done to make people accountable. There are no consequences for the most heinous acts. And we also see that with, with anything the fucking libs protest. It's so toothless. Because there's peace policing that keeps things, looking a certain way, feeling a certain way, acting a certain way. If you were protesting police violence... Nah, let's change this. If you were protesting bacon distribution, the distribution of pig products, would you do that by standing outside of the distribution center holding placards and signs and screaming? I mean, you could. Would it be very effective? No. Oh, but the news might pay attention. Yeah? And then what? And then what happens? then what happens, huh? Nothing. Nothing is what happens. What happens if instead you say destroy the meat trucks that they have? Make it so that they literally can't move their product anymore. What? That fucking does something. Right? It might be temporary. They can always get into a truck. But it slows it down. What if you start attacking the infrastructure by which they move meat products in? Well, then you slow down production even more. You make it more expensive. You make it costlier for people. See where I'm getting at with this? Direct action actually meaningfully does something. Anything. But it does it in a way that is, materially impactful. And the importance of being materially impactful is that it actually fucking does something. Campaigns of guerrilla resistance are not about showing off how much you don't like the people occupying your country. They're about making the occupation as costly as possible in order to incentivize them to fucking leave. So if we're thinking in that context, I feel like we can be having some much more productive conversations about a variety of tactics, a variety of approaches. Because, like, there are, at the end of the day, some pretty uncomfortable questions we have to come to a face with. How much is this struggle worth to you? How much skin do you have in the game? Is it something you just, like, care about? Because everybody has a breaking point, right? Everybody has a price. And I'm not so self-satisfied that I'm gonna pretend like I'm perfect and don't have a breaking point. Obviously I do. Obviously it's not that high. If I feel like I'm alone and don't have people around that I know and trust, I'm very unlikely to take action on my own. If I feel alone, that's a huge mitigating factor for me personally. You know, that's an example. And these are important things to recognize about ourselves and our situations and our levels of commitment, because they help define our limitations and what we can and can't do, and what we should expect ourselves to be able to do. Rather than setting up the unrealistic expectation that everyone is ride or die, because they're not, and they're not going to be. And there's a very fair frustration from people who are towards people who aren't, because the people who are might come into a action or protest or what have you with the expectation that everyone there has the same outlook and philosophy and goals and desires and boundaries and limits that they do, and then when other people fail to live up to their boundaries or expectations or desires, they'll feel disappointed. And this is, again, just the whole fucking point of organizing. The whole fucking point of communicating. The whole goddamn point of building organizational, logistical, infrastructural structures, I guess is redundant to say here, but apparati by which we can engage with and communicate with one another. This shit doesn't happen in a vacuum. Because, like, at the end of the day, it's uncomfortable to admit and it's uncomfortable to look at, but the truth of the matter is that not everyone is going to look at police violence and be like, this is a cause I will fight and die for. Because it isn't for most people. That's the honest truth. It hasn't gotten personal. It hasn't hit close enough to home for a lot of people that they are not there. A lot of people are just unsettled. A lot of people are just uncomfortable with the realization, I'm going further away, aren't I? This isn't looking right to me. Yeah, this looks backwards to me. This is, yeah. Oh no, it looks forward to me, but I want to be going backwards. And like, it's not comfortable or a good feeling to look at your organization and be like, so we're just a bunch of, like, there are a lot of people who aren't willing to engage with insert tactic or insert strategy, or don't really care about goal to the point that I do. But in understanding what people will and won't do, understanding where people's limits are, you can figure out how to better use them. If they won't go out personally, but they will donate. You know, that's something actionable. That's something you can use to help you participate in the means and by which capacity you want to, and they can just support you. But again, you can't just sit there and expect people to support you. You have to build up a community. You have to build up an organizational structure by which that expectation is blatantly stated, not just implicitly expected. You know, I know I'm like a like I'm beating a dead horse here with this communication, define expectation, but seriously, so many relationships, whether they be personal, whether they be political, whether they be professional, so many relationship issues come down to that. A fundamental misunderstanding or miscommunication in goals, expectations, boundaries, desires, etc. If you can get out ahead of that, I feel like you're going to do yourself and your cause or organization a lot of good. Save yourself a big fucking headache. I feel, you know, it is kind of an unreasonable ask to be asking people who are in positions that they feel like they are desperately protesting and resisting for their survival. I feel like it's an unreasonable ask to go like, hey, you need to do community outreach, you gotta build the support structure, you gotta do PR, you gotta do all yada yada yada, because like, no they don't. Number one, they don't have to do that, they don't have to do anything, and number two, it's just, it's more work and more labor for people, and that's a lot. It's a lot for people who are already putting in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and putting themselves in a lot of risk, protesting for and advocating for things that they deeply, fundamentally believe in. I don't know, there's no, like, happy takeaway at the end of the day here. There's no final note that I really want to hit. There's no, like, perfect lesson or message to get across here that'll fundamentally improve things. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there is a desire for a popular uprising, is really what a lot of people have been hoping and wishing for. And the failure of that popular uprising to magically manifest has been tiring and exhausting and confusing for people, because they're at a point where they're ready to march, to take up arms, to directly protest, to, you know, defiantly protest. Why aren't other people, right? And revolutions don't pop up magically overnight. Mass movements don't just magically manifest. They're the products of organizing. They're products of a lot of work. Hi, you're just in time for me to wrap up. This feels like a crime. This chicken farm feels like it. Yeah, I feel bad about the chickens. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where to wrap up. Just bitching about for like it looks and sounds like animal abuse. It feels that way too. I've just been complaining for like half an hour about how leftists are bad at organizing. That, there needs to be more organizational structure in communication. Don't really have a happy takeaway at the end of that. Just like, yeah, there's a lot of work to do. And a lot of it's difficult work. And a lot of it's thankless work. And like, yeah. I don't have a plug. Normally I like to put in a plug at the end of these, right? Like, stuff I'm working on. I am not really working on the Stellaris mod right now. It's at a place I'm like pretty happy with it, but I've played tested it so much I'm burnt out on Stellaris, so that's tabled for now. CK3, I don't care enough about the mods to go and work on them. The latest CK3 patch notes are like very uninspiring. Alright, you know what? No, I will bitch about this a little bit. Paradox thought, you know what Crusader Kings 3 needs? It needs poetry. It needs mechanically... Why? Why does it need poetry? Not just like the poet trait from CK2, but like you can write poems for people or about people. And like that's just gonna get spammy. And you can do the stupid, Vorlon thing and torture people with bad poetry. Oh, great. I'm glad they're just veering right back into Glitterhoof territory with CK3. It's just like, bro, what the fuck? Why? Yeah, just in time for fuck Paradox time. Yep. This is my outro. The poetry, like, random generator they have is, like, neat. Oh, hey, guys. Yeah, alright, yeah, you just keep pointing those crossbows, threatening it with me. Yeah, that's cool. I'm just here to bitch. We got some Paradox fanboys over there. So that hasn't really been exciting. Hearts of Iron 3, the last DLC was the fucking Dardanelles DLC? Like, who gives a shit about Bulgaria, Greece, or Turkey? Like, if I wanted more content for those, I'd play any of the much better mods out there. I might be tempted to do a playthrough as the Soviet Union. Yeah, that's just kind of, maybe. I've already done enough America going socialist campaigns. And CK3's enjoyable. It's just not... It's not new or interesting in a fantastic way. Constantinople is literally you're going every CK2 game. There's a lot of mechanics added in CK3 that are super interesting, but not like taken to their logical conclusion. Part of what turned me off on playing Stellaris more was I wanted to mod in the ability to, or not the ability to, I wanted to change the way that elections work to actually be weighted by your pop's ideology and voting power, but there's no way to actually code that in. It's all hard-coded. So that sucks. Just being like, oh, hey, I want to make Stellaris, like, more roleplay-y and political and, like, actually get into the, governing side of it. And the game's like, no, this isn't about governing a space empire. This is about boring space warfare where you just build a bunch of Corvettes with torpedoes on them and boost their evasion up to 9,000 and you just win everything. It's like not even a good space war game. It's Knights can't form Spain in EU4. They were barred until 1.8. Maltese was the Iberian culture group. They've updated Spain military decision about half a dozen times in the last 5 years, and nobody's ever touched that. True. You have to directly build boats, and you can just slowly spawn doom stacks from across the world instead of having to march through the territory to gather them up. Yeah, the boats in CK3 are just bad. Anytime you want to go on the ocean, you just have boats, and it's... Paradox does this fucking thing where they try to reduce the amount of logistics and infrastructure engagement you have to do because they think it's boring and nobody wants to do that. Hearts of Iron 3 hurt that company bad. Hearts of Iron 3 was all about logistics, all about infrastructure, and they made the UI so bad that nobody fucking understood that game, so Paradox's takeaway wasn't better UI, it was never do logistics ever again. So all these games like Stellaris, where it'd be really interesting to have distance and time actually matter, or actually have to manage having a big empire spanning hundreds of light years, or games like Crusader Kings, where historically a big part of what made or broke empires was their communications networks, their infrastructure networks, their trade networks, how they maintain those. China, for example, and if we're talking about EU4, what made a good emperor more often than not was how that emperor maintained and improved upon the canal systems in northern and southern China. Logistics and infrastructure are like at the heart of empire building, and Paradox just hates engaging with it. They are so averse to really meaningfully engaging with it. Instead, they just turn every fucking game into a map painter where you just have troops with a unrealistically high number of soldiers at very ahistorical times, marching incredible distances, losing very few people, and just like painting the map. Like when we talk about casualties from war, even up until the mid-20th century, the number one way that people died from war was disease, not even combat. And games about warfare and historical periods should be reflective of that reality, but they found that players don't find it fun or satisfying when you're just losing a lot of people to attrition. People don't like that, and people don't want to play that. So Paradox is trying to make a fun game or a fun experience, and then acting like it's historical, but it's not historical. They've really slid away from the simulation side into just like map painting. Yeah, people keep saying, give Vicky 3. Paradox, what'd you say? Less mechanics? Like, the community, it's a meme at this point, has been demanding Vicky 3 for like a decade. Yeah, I've lost a lot of troops in CK2 to attrition. Vanilla CK2's attrition was horrific. And very good. Very good. I remember, except for when the Mongols and Aztecs don't suffer attrition because the AI's bad and would just kill all of their troops. And this is, again, a problem throughout all of Paradox's games. The AI sucks. The AI sucks, and they have to code in exceptions so that the AI doesn't just do stupid shit. Rather than improving the AI so it doesn't do stupid shit, they just give it exceptions or give it boosts or like help it out with shortcuts that are just really unsatisfying when you get a good look at them. I've been nostalgically thinking about the original Stellaris and kind of like wanting those halcyon days back. In the same way when when Crusader Kings 2 was on its last legs before CK3 came out, I really wanted for like the days when the only CK2 we had was the demo. That was the most fun I ever had with the game. Regional Stellaris? Star Sectors? You mean Space Hell? Yeah, just there's smart ways to implement these, there's creative ways to implement all of these things that they're trying to do, but instead Paradox just keep disappointing. They keep disappointing. Imperator just got its 2.0 release. I'm not looking at it. I expect it to continue to suck. And that's a really shitty place to have gotten with Paradox titles, because they have so much promise, but then the developers really failed to deliver on that promise by these incremental content patches that don't add to depth, they just add to the width of things that you can do. They're very wide but shallow games. And I want more depth. I want a lot more depth. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really... I hate wrapping these up on just me bitching, because I'm a very critical person. Oh, the bedtime birds are... Yeah. I'm a very critical person, right? But that doesn't mean I don't have positivity or joy or, you know, any things like that in my life. Like, oh, fuck off. Fuck off. No. And I definitely feel like I have led on this affectation of, oh boy, we're getting into some shit I don't want to get into. Affectation of like, Alex is just critical all the time and can't enjoy anything. I mean, kind of, yeah, but also like there's some good moments in it. Yeah, playing Tulin Stellaris is what I like to do, but it sucks. Habitats are fucking terrible. I was looking into habitat modding earlier in the week, and like there's no way for me to mod those so that it's actually fun. The problem comes down to, again, the AI sucks and can't take advantage of structures as well as a player can. And when that's your core component problem, any way that you mod the game just ends up coming up short. Yeah. Well, I just appreciate that. Listen, buddy, I want to go home. As far as content goes, especially for new people, and neither of you are new, especially for new people, like the moment a streamer or YouTuber starts complaining, all right, fine, we're doing this. I didn't want to do this, but we're doing this. Moment somebody starts complaining, they're like, just enjoy the game, forehead, and like, no, I cannot mindlessly consume, I'm afraid. I hear him. Oh, hello. Yeah, I'm sure that won't end poorly. May not be new, but I'm also rarely ever here. Yeah, don't feel expected to be here. And the expectation is I talk into a microphone for like an hour and a half, and then be like, yeah, I'm meaning to stream more, and then not stream more. That's the norm. That's the expectation, right? So, so long as we all have that shared expected reality, I don't think anybody's gonna be very disappointed. In mid-February, they released a new patch for EU4, but had to roll it back because it corrupted Iron Man and multiplayer saves. It was promised it wouldn't affect them. Ah. Wow. Oh no. The new EU4 DLC looks like really bad. And I hate to say it. But like it does truly look awful. Yeah, I definitely relate to the I wish I had more time to play games feeling. That's not my reality right now, but it has been in recent years. Been one nice-ish part of the pandemic is that I have a lot of time to play games, but on the other hand, like, it's also mind-melting because, like, yeah, I can play games, but like there's so much I'd rather be doing. yeah, that's relatable. Very relatable. Getting home and being like, I'm gonna play games, and then just falling the fuck asleep. Hell yeah. That's growing up. There's good stuff, and by good stuff I mean it kind of sucks, but it's relatable. Okay, all right. you know, I've never actually dealt with an Illager raid before, and I don't really want to, hence the me putting up a wall here. What sucks is I kind of want to play something else, but nothing's really sticking out to me. So I don't really know what to do. So I think I'm gonna cut this, but just continue bitching on a ambient screen. So if you're watching this on YouTube, until, I don't know, tomorrow or something, I'm gonna say toodaloo, take care, I'll see you then, bye-bye.